Today we are talking about the Palace of the Soviets, Stalin's Tower of Propaganda. The year is 1931. Joseph Stalin needed a symbol to tell the world that the Soviet Union was the future. His plan? To build the tallest structure on Earth. To top it all, a 300-foot statue of Lenin, casting his metallic shadow over Moscow. This is the tragic story of the Palace of the Soviets, a building of impossible ambition, built on a mountain of sacrifice. The location itself was a statement. Stalin ordered the Cathedral of Christ, the Saviour, a 19th century symbol of Tsarist Russia, dynamited to the ground to make way for the palace. The design was chosen after a massive international competition. The winner, a towering neoclassical wedding cake, built in 3 colossal tiers, rising over 1,300 feet. But the final design, approved by Stalin, was even bigger, 1,378 feet, crowned by a 300-foot stainless steel figure of Vladimir Lenin. The palace was meant to be a vertical headquarters for the new government, hosting the Supreme Soviet. It would feature 2 main halls, the Great Hall for 21,000 delegates and the Small Hall for 6,000. These were spaces of unprecedented scale, designed for political theater and mass spectacle. The sheer weight of the structure, an estimated 2 million tons, required revolutionary engineering. The central dome of the Great Hall was designed as a massive suspension system of steel cables, supporting the tiers above it. It was to be a beacon of Soviet industrial and political power. Construction began immediately, but the site was cursed. The Moscow River was just 130 feet away, and the foundation pit quickly filled with groundwater, turning the site into a massive swamp. Engineers worked desperately to drain it and reinforce the ring foundation against the pressure. Meanwhile, the sheer material cost was crippling. The steel required for the palace's frame alone was enough to build several battleships. As the project dragged on, the Soviet Union faced a growing threat from Nazi Germany. In 1941, the German invasion forced a catastrophic halt. The dream of the palace was immediately sacrificed for the war effort. Workers were pulled off the site. The massive, high-grade steel framework that was meant to hold Lenin aloft was dismantled and repurposed for wartime needs steel to build tank traps, railway bridges, and defenses around Moscow. The symbol of Soviet power became material for Soviet survival. The war ended, but the palace was never rebuilt. The foundation pit, that huge circular scar in Moscow, was simply too difficult to drain and restart. Stalin's death in 1953 finally closed the book. The new leadership decided on a different kind of structure. In the 1,950 seconds, Soviet engineers poured more concrete into the foundation pit and turned it into the world's largest open-air swimming pool, the Moskva Pool. For 30 years, citizens swam laps where Lenin was supposed to stand. The pool was seen as a symbol of practical Khrushchev-era relaxation, but many found it deeply ironic. The most ambitious political symbol of communism was now a public bathhouse. Finally, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Russian government decided to undo the damage of 1,931. The Moskva Pool was demolished, and a faithful, modern recreation of the original Cathedral of Christ the Saviour was constructed on the site. The Palace of the Soviets was a structure of pure, terrifying propaganda. It wasn't unbuilt for technical reasons, but because a greater, more desperate necessity intervened. Its steel became a shield. Its pit became a pool. Today, the golden domes of the cathedral stand as a silent testament to a different kind of power, not the power of the state, but the power of history to reclaim its own ground. It remains one of the greatest architectural monuments that existed only in the minds of the ambitious. This was unbuilt visions, the architecture that never was.